She, hello, once again. Good morning, Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo. We live at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. Thank you, Bob Roberts, for letting us come here once again. And joining me today is Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss, and political consultant Vanessa Moss. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to Detroit and black and white viewers. Good morning, Allan. Good morning, Adolph and Jim.
Allan gone.
Oh.
Allan is not going to be with us today.
Oh, he's not going to be with us today. Oh, let's saw on video.
The Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, that's right. It sure is.
You know,
that's
I
why
told
he on the
Allan.
blazer.
Yeah, I told Allan that the synagogue might catch on fire for him walking in. He don't go doing. But you know, people during the holidays get religious and etc. Got Jim Nardoni from Trenton, former police chief, sitting in once again. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. Thanks to Allan for today.
Okay, since you're a guest, we're going to go with you first. Your outrage of the week.
Is this a family program or is this anything?
Whatever,
There's no
whatever.
FEC regulations here, right?
Whatever the hell you want to talk about.
Mel Tucker is a con man, NFL Hall of Famer, Drew Pearson. Mel Tucker is a lying mother effer. F. Mel Tucker, effing snake. No integrity, hypocrite, piece of sheep. Mel Tucker lied to the recruits, the donors, the fans. What a scum. Should I keep going? What rhymes with...
Is that how you really feel?
What rhymes with Mel Tucker?
Is that how you really feel?
Lying mother, absolutely. It's like this, remember the movie for any younger people? Probably don't remember. There's movies come out, it's like The Sting. Who's conning who?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think he deserves to lose his job?
Yeah. I don't think he need to lose all that money. I think what he did, and you know what, and I got mixed feelings. He should have understood that he's paying this woman to come to talk about being assaulted, and you know, and she done went through some shit,
right?
And she's going around different college programs to talk to these young men, which is great. Then he got into a relationship with her. I believe they had a relationship.
You think so? What?
Some kind of relationship.
You think so?
Yeah, I think.
Well, then if they got into a relationship, was it sexual harassment? Was it consent? I don't know.
I think it's a woman scoring. He stopped hiring. Yes.
I don't think we have everything. I don't think we, and you know how the media is, they sensationalize everything. You look at the headlines and you see these blurbs. I don't think we got a true full picture of everything that occurred. Now, do I think that the man should lose his job? I'm like, Adolph, I got mixed feelings. I need to see everything and find out everything that went on. Now, I will say this. You have this young woman, right?
Yeah.
We know that, and I'm not calling her out, but this is a young woman she has 2 children, right?
Right.
She's been around the block, okay? Now, she's also been a victim, right? She was a rape victim. So to re-victimize her by doing that could be a problem. But again, we really don't know what happened.
She said she didn't release the complaint. Mm-hmm. Somebody took it up on themselves. But I blame Michigan State. I blame Michigan State for one. Mel Tucker wasn't shit as a coach. He didn't win. And they giving him this $100 million. Hell, I would coach Michigan State if you paid me $100 million over a 10-year period, and I could do just as good as he had done. Look, he had one good season, and that's it. Mel Tucker, he was imploded.
He's a fraud.
Michigan State.
He's a fraud.
These aren't. You asked if I felt this way.
Right.
You asked if I felt. Yes. These aren't my quotes. These are all Twitter quotes.
What is your quote?
These are Twitter quotes from 2020 when he was hired at Michigan State. Each of these quotes is 2.5 years old. before he came to Michigan State. These quotes are accurate. He's a lying. So let me ask you, Vanessa, you're a fine attorney. So let me ask you this. You've looked at police reports. You looked at written statements from people that are accused of a crime. And you've talked to people that come in and say, what do they tell you? They tell you only what they have. Tell me where I'm wrong.
But wait a minute. People do that whether they're, facing crimes or not. We only say what we want to say. Now, again, I'm saying this. We have not seen the full story. Now, given the fact that he's
gone.
He's like a wolf in sheep's
clothing. He's gone.
What is he admitted to, counselor? What is he admitted to, counselor? Tell me what he's admitted to.
He played with his pee-pee.
What is he admitted to?
Played with his pee-pee.
Right.
So he's admitted to that.
Let me say this. When it first hit the press, right, it looked like, she's on the phone for 40 minutes. Why did she just hang up? Was she complicit?
Money.
But then, okay, so my this is the thing.
Okay.
This goes back to what he said.
Listen.
There's something more to the story because there's no way in heck somebody. Wait a minute. There's no way in heck somebody's gonna call me, FaceTime me, show their stuff, and I will sit there for 40 minutes and then say,
well,
I'm so offended.
We can talk about this forever. We're going to continue to follow this story, and we see what they do to Mel Tucker. Vanessa, your outrage of the week.
So I didn't, I read a article about Mel Tucker op-ed last night, and I said, well, maybe that'll be my outrage, but you took it. So I don't have one. I will say this. I live downtown. Last night was the automobile prom, as I call it. See everybody all gussied up and everything. I decided that I need to go to the store. I get in my vehicle and I drive down Jefferson. Police everywhere. You see the UAW, they're on strike. You see red shirts everywhere. And I had a little feeling to come over me to just see these people in solidarity. But the other part of this is the optics. This is the auto show in Detroit, Michigan. This is going all over the world. These pictures of these strikers during the time of the auto show. Just bad.
Let them eat cake.
Just bad optics.
Let them eat cake. They raising money for, and I was there. They raising money for charity, and they cut a deal. Now, listen to this. I went there, but and I like the new president of the UAW, but he made he made a mistake. Close down the preview. See, if you're gonna play hardball, you got to play hardball. They should have blockade I call it Cobo Hall. Don't give them a pass and say, okay, we're gonna let you cross a picket line. We're not gonna do anything. If you're gonna be hardcore, if you want a one-tier system instead of a two-tier system in the plants where you got people making $15
right,
and somebody else making 50 doing the same work, man, you got to play hardball. You can't give a bug a break.
How did that happen? How did they get 2 tiers?
Because the UAW and the past leadership was sucking on management. They were all in the bed. They were all in the bed. You couldn't tell who was management and who was union. Hey.
So how do you think it's going to turn out? If you had a crystal ball, that crystal ball,
20%. You probably get 20%. I don't know if they're going to get one-tier system. They might raise them some more money, but no, those days of I can drop out of high school and go to Chrysler. Right. I don't like Chrysler. I go down the street to General Motors and get a job.
Right.
Fuck, I don't like General Motors, so I go to Ford. Oh, I found my niche. You got robots and computers and all this other stuff doing the same thing that a person used to do. So no, listen, they live in a pipe dream. They live in a pipe dream, not 40%.
You think so? Okay, we'll see. I don't think they're going to get everything that they ask for. I don't think they're going to get that 40%, but there's going to be some concessions.
You live downriver. What's closed downriver? What was the big plants that was downriver?
McLeod Steel was a huge plant in Trent.
And they just did what?
It's been closed for years.
Right. They just tore it down, right? Yeah.
They just tore it down.
Yeah, and people got pensions. People were able to live a nice middle class in the 60s. The highest home ownership in African American community was right here in Detroit, where people, the husband and the wife worked at the plant. They got 2 cars, got a boat, owned a home and shit. And then all of a sudden, it all crashed.
Healthcare and pensions is what they don't want to pay, and that's what is the big issue. It's nice to give them a check for $10,000. It's nice to give the employees a check for $10,000, but when they retire, there's no safety net for their healthcare, and they don't receive a pension to newer employees.
But here's the thing, it's like you give, and people get used to what they have, right? And all of a sudden you say, no, you can't have that. No, you can't have that. It's hard. It's really hard. People who work in the plant, I'm not saying that they do not earn the money that they receive, but I mean, like he said, they lived a very, very privileged life. And so now you're looking at, okay, what are we going to do here? Because, those people that have been there for a long time, they're like, we want this, we want this, we want that, and we deserve this.
Go to California. California just passed a bill. They cut a deal with the restaurant association and stuff. They paying people $20, starting out at $20. What you gonna pay $15 for a Big Mac? Now, I saw a Big Mac in Iceland. I went there for a conference. Yeah, a Subway sandwich there was like $13 that you pay $6 or $7 here. So this is where we're going.
Right.
You haven't been to Subway if you pay $6 or $7.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, you know what I'm talking about. The food used to be, especially fast food, was cheap. But are you going to pay $15 for a Big Mac or a Whopper or any of that?
I think people will.
Well,
I think people will.
Okay.
Well, if we inflate the wages by 25 or 30%, everything goes up.
But
that's
not going to be able to buy a car.
Right.
Shit.
You won't have as many employees. That's what's going to happen. You're not, because as you indicated, you have robots and things like that. I stopped by McDonald's. I don't eat it, but I was with somebody and they placed the order and it came out of, I felt like I was in what was that, the Jetsons cartoon? It came out of a chute. They just put their order in, they
kiosk,
tapped the screen or whatever, and it came out. Amazing.
It ain't amazing.
Nobody to say, have a good day, thank you for coming.
Get the
Is
fuck
there
out.
anything else?
All that.
None of that.
Can I have extra mustard on my
Right.
But it's like this. I was a paper boy. And then one day, the automobile industry laid off everybody, and the grown-ups took over the paper routes because they could drive. Right. So if I had a wagon, and you have 100 customers, after school, or you did the free press early in the morning, and then all of a sudden, the kids was iced out. McDonald's, that was a part-time job for kids. Then here come the seniors. People laid off. The grown-ups took it over because then it became, I need a job. And listen, it's like evolved into, man, the strongest survive. So you eat this and eat that. And now we're at a situation where fast food is not a entry-level position. People trying to survive, pay their mortgage and stuff. So, they have
to go to $20 an hour. I don't know if it even works out because
you're going to buy some chicken nuggets for $30.
But everything else
you're going to eat some chicken
gas
and some chicken
high.
Nuts.
Electricity is high.
You're going to eat some chicken nuggets.
I don't eat that stuff.
Hey, you know what I'm talking about. You eat it.
You eat some. I
I
salute the fast food workers because we did a charity at the local McDonald's when I was a police officer, and we had probably 15 police officers in there, and it was hard work. I give those people credit.
Some of them don't work now. I was at a McDonald's in Paris one time, and there was about 2 of us in there. And where's the worker?
You went to Paris to go to McDonald's?
No, because I was hungry. Anyway, I went to McDonald's, and they were in the back. They were in the back laughing. I said, "Hey, all went to the same school." You know what? You don't even have to speak the language. You know it's the same everywhere. But you know what? We'll see what happens in this strike. The guy, he's playing chess. He's playing hardball. But he had them. They are who we thought they were.
Exactly right.
Yeah, right. But he let them off the hook. He let them off the hook last night.
They should have closed. You didn't want him to do that.
No, I wanted
He's a hard.
No,
he's a hard.
If you're gonna play to win. You don't let them get off the hook. Now he playing hardball all the way around.
Right.
Listen, I admire him, but then he got weak, and he let them open up the auto show and stuff. This was the time to say close it down, lock it down, and we're not playing. That's
well,
the only message you sent to them.
But maybe it has so much to do with the fact that it really is a fundraiser for charities. And you have all these charities that's going to receive.
Well, he don't want his workers. He don't want his members to be part of that charity. So that's why he's trying to get some money. We're going to continue to follow this story. Now, my outrage, I got about 100 of them, but it's the three terrorists that wanted to execute our governor, and they got off. Yeah, they nullified. And you know what they did? That jury did. They found them a jury that says it's okay to threaten the governor, it's okay to kidnap, it's okay to execute, etc.
Are they from Marshall? Or are they from somewhere else?
I think they are from somewhere else.
That was a joke. Is the governor's phone number? Did you hear that story?
No. What's the
story?
So
they're fighting the lithium battery plant out there, the residents of Marshall,
and you know who need that plant? And I know folks up in Albion. I know some city council people and stuff. I said, Marshall don't want it. Albion, y'all should go up there and try to get it. You know, they don't want the plant, and it's the same reasons. They don't want different people to move into that community.
But they traced the phone number back to the governor's campaign team that was trying to harass I guess I'll use the word harass.
Right.
The residents of Marshall.
Okay, before we continue, let's take a break, and we'll be back with Vanessa Moss, Jim Nardoni, and I'm Adolph Mongo.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's Office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Listen, before our first guest come on at 10:30, there are some interesting stories around the country. I'm going to go into Virginia. There's a candidate Democrat that come under fire for posting sex videos of her husband and her. They was having a great time. And the top Democratic officials, instead of running from her in Virginia, they said this woman is well qualified to be in the House of Delegates. So what do you think
they should run from her? We always talk about transparency, right?
Yeah, that's ultimate.
We always talk about transparency. So, I mean, she and her husband are transparent. We just talked about how people only allow you to see what they want you to see. Hey, she's putting it all out there. What's the problem, Mr. Mongo.
I don't have any problem with
Oh, okay. Did you watch the video?
it. No. But if you send it to me, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. Now, what about the governor of South Dakota?
Well,
she's a real asshole.
Well, the word is that Corey Lewandowski was Trump's right-hand man. I think he ran his campaign at one point. He's a big player.
He did.
I mean, I guess we could be a little envious that Hope Hicks, who was a model and she was on Trump's team, do you know who that is? And now he's linked to Kristi Noem, who's a family values kind of
is she
governor.
Married?
She is married.
Okay.
But apparently, word is they've spent a lot of quality time together. Trump's right-hand man and
quality time with you.
And then there's the idiot congresswoman out of Colorado, Lauren Boebert.
Oh,
hopefully,
Lord.
this will put a nail in her coffin. She was at a what was some play.
It was
and she was vaping, whatever. Whether she's smoking, a pregnant woman was behind her and said, "Can you put that out?" She went berserk,
right?
Cussed her out, called all kind of names. They put her out of the theater. Guess what? She said, "That's a lie. I didn't say anything." They went and got the video, so she had to backtrack. That her and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're out of their fucking mind.
Why are we getting?
You know what? Her own party don't like her. That's the kicker. They don't like her at all.
How are we getting people like this elected? AOC in New York City. Did you guys see that little snippet of her?
Go ahead.
Her, I guess, a press conference. Why are radicals being elected on every level? I mean, on both sides.
Because they used to be on the outside. Now we accepted them, and we have made it where who can say the most outrageous thing?
Is it outrageous, or do you think they really believe that? I mean, so when you say
some of them don't believe it, but some of them really actually believe this shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no question about that they believe it.
Exactly. And you said that once upon a time we didn't have those people, holding office.
Yes, you did.
But I was just getting ready to say that.
At one time, the state of Colorado in the 20s, the governor and the 2 U.S. senators was members of the Ku Klux Klan. Same way in Indiana. So you haven't had those folks before. In Detroit, they had a candidate named was Charles Smith. He ran for mayor of Detroit. And he was a white supremacist, 1925, 26.
Okay. All right.
He won. He won on a write-in. But the clerk's
Did they
office.
spell his name right?
Wait a minute. But the clerk's office, no, guess what?
What?
Clerk's office, they threw out enough ballots for him not to win. There ain't no question.
So his name wasn't spelled right.
Wasn't spelled right, had different initials, but that's the way it is. We always had those fringe candidates that people elected them. We had them here in Detroit. And people say, well, throw the bombs out. But then when it comes to their representative, they don't want to throw anybody out.
So
that's why we got a council up here. We got people on council that the Fed's looking at. We got people on council that got convicted of a felony. We got people on council that, why are they on council? I was for districts at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Please, we need to take it back to citywide elections.
Why? Why do you feel that way?
Because we wouldn't have to elect some idiots that we elected. That's why.
But let me ask you this: Do you think that you do need those radical ideas to shake things up and get rid of the status quo? What about the status quo?
Yeah.
We have a problem with the status quo.
Yeah.
That's why we had someone that was in the White House not too long ago, because he was not part of the status quo.
So here's what happened. The filibuster, everybody wants to get rid of the filibuster, right? So it started in the local courts, right? They got rid of the filibuster. So now we started getting radical judges at the lower level. And that's what happened at the Supreme Court. We would not have a Supreme Court like we have if the filibuster was still in place on justices. So now what we're getting is radicals on both sides. And that's not good for this country, in my opinion.
Well,
so you don't think a radical is good to shake up the status quo?
Well, when we talk about the Supreme Court, it used to be 98-0, 94-6. That now it's 52-48. I'm not suggesting that we don't need radicals to shake up the system.
You had at one time when the Board of Education, Brown versus Board of Education, when they appointed, when Eisenhower appointed Earl Warren, who we thought was a real conservative. Warren was the governor of California when they interned the Japanese during World War II. So he got him a real conservative. But Warren turned out to be a liberal radical. Anyway, when they took a straw vote on Brown versus the board, it was like 5-4. He said, we don't want to release that. He went and he lobbied the people that dissented. And he got down to this one guy, Southerner, and they all went. It was 9-0. Even though he knew there were several people on that court that said, I'm not for this, but they always could reach a consensus. Now you see the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and his boy on there, they would put a baby to death in an electric chair and justify why they vote to allow the execution.
I'm saying that we do need radicals to shake up the system, because if we didn't have radicals, we wouldn't have people we would not have had a Malcolm X, we would not have had a Dr. Martin Luther King, and so on and so forth. So we need radicals to shake up the status quo, because if you don't have it, there won't be a difference.
What's your version of a radical?
You may not.
What is your version
I'm
of a
just
radical?
taking it from your conversation.
Yeah.
You're talking about AOC and the
She's
other
an
lady
idiot.
that.
She's
not a radical. She's an idiot.
She's an idiot.
Oh Lord,
she ain't a real radical. She's not a real radical. And all these so-called progressives, the granddaddy of the progressives for 30, 40 years ago was Dennis Kucinich.
Sure.
And he was smart guy.
Right.
There ain't no question.
True.
He was Mr. Progressive.
Right.
These folks get in there. Now, Cornel West, who I respect as a scholar, he should known better. When you jump in a race, you got all your ducks lined up in a row. He ain't paid child support. He owed all this money.
He's one of us, so that way he should probably be looked at.
And you know what? People will find that attractive.
Wait a minute.
He's just like me.
Wait a minute. That's how Harold Washington, the late Harold Washington, got elected mayor of Chicago. They released that information saying his lights got cut off.
Yeah, I remember.
His phone got cut off and stuff. And you know what they found out? People said, he's not stealing money.
Right.
Because he can't pay his bills like I am. He couldn't afford to have two places. He was a single guy. As you know, he got elected on that.
Maybe we need somebody from that.
You like Cornel West.
I like Cornel West because he's honest. I read one of his books.
You might have to pick him up because he doesn't know.
I read one of his books this week, and I have to tell you. So let me ask you this.
Jim, you're going to be driving the van, taking it to county jails across the country.
So is Cornel West smarter than, or not as smart as Donald Trump?
He's smarter.
Is he smarter or not as smart as Joe Biden?
Smarter.
But wait a minute. But the real question is he
but
electable?
Who's the most savvy?
Is he electable? Is he electable?
If Lauren Boebert and AOC are electable,
and Margie Taylor Greene
are electable, then Cornel West is electable.
There's no question. Well, anyway, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and hopefully we have our first guest. This is Detroit in Black and White.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabree. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome back to Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. We're here at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. There's been a lot happening. The Godfrey Hotel is open. They got a nice rooftop bar, a bar downstairs. It's a Hilton property. You can walk down the street to Roosevelt Park where the train station.
Right.
That's my man, Matty Maroon. I don't care what anybody says. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have that train station, and he did the right thing by not tearing it down. That everybody wanted to tear it down. So, but anyway,
before we go to our guest, anyone that's watching Detroit in Black and White, what we'd like for you to do is like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. And you can also catch all of our podcasts on DetroitInBlackAndWhite.com. DetroitInBlackAndWhite.com.
And we
like, subscribe, share. We're on Facebook. We're on Deadline Detroit. We're on Instagram, and we're on YouTube.
And we're going to be on. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Oh, no.
We're going to be on a bigger platform. But I'm waiting to hear from that company.
And that's very exciting.
Yes,
that happens.
We're trying to get the message out. Anyway. Our first guest, we had her on several weeks ago, and she was talking about the hate she received in Grosse Pointe. Her name is JeDonna Dingus. How you doing, young lady?
Hi, Adolph. How are you? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me?
I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you, but okay. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Okay, tell us what's going on with that bill that you have been pushing in Lansing.
So with House Bill 4474, as I told you last time I was on, it has passed the State House and it is headed to the Senate. But as we are looking at the Senate taking it up, it's our understanding that the Democrats are a little concerned. They're a little squeamish about this legislation, because the Republicans have pushed back on the legislation, saying that they had First Amendment concerns, which are addressed in the bill. It says directly in the bill that First Amendment protections are still in place. But because Republicans have pushed back and framed this legislation as being legislation that would criminalize people using the wrong pronouns, now the Democrats are becoming squeamish, and they are willing to sit on this legislation to appease the Republicans, which I think is ridiculous.
You know what, JeDonna?
I'm sorry?
JeDonna, the last time you was here, I said that you may have some problems with the Constitution, with the First Amendment. You indicated that you had people that worked with you that were constitutional law scholars, and that you felt like it would pass the muster. I'm saying to you, and I'm saying to all the viewers, wherever we can get in, if we can fight it, we're going to do it as lawyers. If we can find a little wiggle room, we're going to challenge it. So it's going to be challenged. Even if it's passed, I tell you, it is going to be challenged.
Well, first of all, we did have First Amendment experts working on this legislation, including the Deputy Solicitor General for the state of Michigan, Ann Sherman. Ron Lipscomb worked with us too. He's a partner at Miller Canfield, and he is a First Amendment expert as well. So I'm not concerned about the First Amendment challenges. We're not concerned about that. part of what, as we were crafting this legislation, as the Ethnic Intimidation Law Amendment Work Group was crafting this legislation, we pulled down pieces of the current stalking law. So we pulled down legislation that's already been tried and true. So we didn't go reinvent the wheel in looking at this legislation. So I have full confidence in the people who are at the table helping us craft this legislation. I'm not worried about First Amendment. We aren't worried about First Amendment challenges. Well, what we are concerned about is ensuring that this legislation is passed so that every citizen in the state of Michigan is protected against hate-based crimes and ethnic intimidation. We just had an incident 2 days ago in Grosse Pointe Farms, where a pride flag was burned. It was on the door of a church, and someone burned the pride flag. And so hate crimes have been on the rise in the state of Michigan, and I want to make sure that the legislators do not wait until we have a tragedy, like someone going into a community, shooting up, killing people because of their race or faith or whatever. We don't want to wait until something happens and then start to try to figure out how to craft legislation. We already have this legislation. It's already passed the House, and the Senate needs to pass it. They need to not sit on it. Democrats, go ahead.
Who's sitting on it? Who's sitting on it?
Who's sitting on it? So it is sitting in the Senate right now. And the Senate leader, Senator Winnie Brinks, she's sitting on it. She's sitting on it. It has been assigned to a committee. Let me get my notes. I don't see my notes, but that's okay. Senator Stephanie Chang is the chair of the committee. So it's sitting in a committee, and they intend to sit on it if we don't make them take action. And I'm tired of Democrats. They always want to come to Black folks for votes. And then when we come to them for something, we have to beg, and we most times end up empty-handed. It's not acceptable, and I won't tolerate it. This legislation needs to be passed because every person in the state of Michigan deserves to be protected from hate-based crimes and intimidation, including ethnic intimidation.
When Democrats in power, I always say this, they do nothing. They don't do shit. And then when Republicans get in power, it's scorched earth policy. They say we got an agenda, and they carry out their agenda. Now the Democrats in control of Lansing, and here we are. You would think that it was the Republicans who's blocking this, and it's Stephanie Chang, and where's the other senator from?
Man, I'm still having a little bit of trouble hearing you. And I say it one more time.
Yeah, where's the other senator that's sitting on this? Where is she?
So we have Stephanie Chang is the chair of the committee that has the legislation, and Sue Shink is the vice chair. But nothing can get done. Stephanie Chang is going to take her direction from the Senate leader, which is Senator Winnie Brinks. So Senator Winnie Brinks is the holdup. It's not Senator Stephanie Chang. She's the chair of the committee that has the legislation, but it's Senator Winnie Brinks who's the holdup. And so that's what we need to put the pressure on.
Where is Winnie Brinks from?
She's from Grand Rapids. Surprise, surprise.
On the west.
Well, you know who's over there. That's the bosses and stuff. That's Betsy DeVos territory.
That's Betsy DeVos territory. Absolutely. Yeah. And we know that is a very purple district, and she's concerned about being reelected. But you can't get reelected on the backs of people being hurt or killed or intimidated or terrorized. You want to hold on to this legislation because she wants to hold on to this legislation because she doesn't want to piss off Republicans, but now she pissed off Democrats. Because I'm a tried and true Democrat. I've never missed an election. I'm 60 years old. I've never missed voting in an election. But I'm not going to support Democrats who won't support legislation that protects everybody. I'm not going to do it.
Go ahead. You got a question? Okay, fine. Now what? What's the next step?
So what I'm asking people to do is to call these senators. Call them up and ask them to support this legislation. Call Winnie Brinks' office and ask her to support this legislation. Support House Bill 4474. Call Stephanie Chang and ask her to support House Bill 4474.
You got any
Call.
numbers?
Pardon me?
You got any phone numbers?
Yep, let me get them for you. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, I should have had them. I'm sorry. Give me 2 seconds.
No question about it. Well, Democrats, they play those games. Oh, man.
It's politics.
Well,
you talk about the First Amendment. Democrats are supposed to be for the First Amendment, and now there's a fine line between a crime and the First Amendment. We talk about ethnic intimidation. My neighbor flies a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. This kid got kicked out of school. I'm not going to fly a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. I saw 65, 70.
But ain't nothing wrong with that flag.
Well, what's wrong about it is people don't understand what it means.
I understand what it means. And you know what? It's the people that co-opted the flag.
Correct.
And yeah, she's going to get some numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, she's going to get some numbers. Yeah, I understand that flag was during the Revolutionary War when they broke away from the British.
We need to educate people. People need to be more informed.
But people co-opt the flags and stuff. It's just like the skinheads. You know where the skinhead movement started? Jamaicans.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was in Europe.
Yeah. It was the Jamaicans that started the skinheads. And here we are. It got co-opted, and then people take it over. It is what it is.
Then it becomes associated with something negative, and
right.
It's not meant as that.
The Nazi symbol was a Hindu religious symbol, and Hitler and his cronies co-opted it. Now nobody wants to look at it. I know Allan said many times he went to the DAC, and there it is, embedded in the floor and stuff.
Right.
And he wants them to take it out. They're not removing that. It was like it was here before Hitler came into power. So what are you gonna do?
I just think we need to educate people a little more. I think they need
Listen,
to
I
understand.
grew up in neighborhoods where they used to have a little black jockey. We started knocking the heads off with the hammers. You know, people start taking them out their yard. First, they start painting them white.
Right.
And then we start knocking their heads off.
Mm-hmm.
And then people I just wonder, why did you have a jockey in your line?
Well, that's interesting because I was in a drug unit back, and I think the statute of limitations is probably gone. But my sergeant, he made it part of, and we were out in the middle of the night, right, pulling trash, doing all those kind of things. He had quite a collection. He's an African American gentleman. He had quite a collection whenever he saw one, he stole it.
Oh,
he was a sergeant with the state police.
Wow.
Great guy. I'm not going to say what his name. He
He's
stole
the
them.
police, he stole them.
He stole
Wow.
everyone he saw at 3 a.m.
Wow, and you witnessed the crime. And you were complicit, right?
He was my supervisor.
Uh-huh.
He was my
Complicit.
Yeah, I always wondered, but there's a story behind those jockeys.
I used to
It's a-
know it.
yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, it's supposed to
I
be
can't-
when George Washington crossed the Delaware. He had an enslaved valet who served him with him, and when they got to shore, and he was standing guard with the horses and whatever. In the wintertime, he had a lantern. And when they came back after surprising the Hessians and beating them, he was frozen. But as the story evolved, somebody put a jockey uniform on it.
That's the one I'm familiar
The very first jockeys in
that's
the
the one I'm
Kentucky
familiar
Derby,
Right.
they were black men.
Right.
You know,
Right.
everybody
That's the
that
story
rode a
I'm
horse.
familiar
So
with. Right.
he evolved from being a hero to putting a jockey uniform on to having a lantern to coming in somebody's yard. And there he is, the jockey would go, take a hammer, start knocking them, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, we're waiting on JeDonna Dingus. We're going to take a break and we'll come back, and she should have her those telephone numbers. This is Detroit Black and White with Vanessa.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
And we're back. Adolph Mongo, Vanessa Moss, and Jim Nardoni. That was a great interview with JeDonna. She's very passionate. We'll come back to her at the end of the show and put those telephone numbers on our website. Now we have our next guest. He's no stranger to Detroit Black and White. He's from sunny Florida, which I'm boycotting Florida, but I keep getting pulled by my Florida friends who want me to come down there. Attorney Richard Ryles. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Good morning, Richard.
Good. Good
Speak
morning.
A little louder, Richard.
All right. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay. Good.
So what's going on with your dictator down there, man?
Well,
he's fighting on 5 fronts.
Seems like he's losing. That's what it looks like, and we're happy to watch it happen. But he's steady passing laws and attempting to restrict the rights of blacks and immigrants almost on a daily basis. So we're in the fight, and we're just having to reorganize. Much like as I listened to the conversation that you all just had, I think that we can take that the playbook that we need in order to at least have a fighting chance is the same everywhere in the world. I don't know if you all have been looking at the events that have been going on in Burkina Faso and Mali and all the Francophone countries over in Africa, but they're ousting the French puppet dictators and taking back their countries, and the people are leading the march. But one of the things that's consistent with all of those leaders is that most of them have been there 30, 40 years. And, one leader would die and his son would take over and they would continue the Francophone agenda. Well, that happens to us locally in politics, in black politics, is that we elect people. And once we elect them, we don't hold them accountable. Right. And if we don't hold them accountable, by the time we allow someone to get to Senate or to the House, we pretty much are powerless over them, because those interests who put all the money in their campaigns then control them. But if we held our local people accountable, who really are the ones who touch the voters on a more regular basis, then you have more control over your state house and your Senate candidates and even your governor. But you have to hold your local people. They have to have a fear that if I don't represent the interests of my constituents, I'm gone. And right now, I think a lot of times people hold seats 3 and 4. I mean, I don't know if you all have term limits, but I know in a lot of places they hold seats 20 and 30 years, and we just let them go, and we know they're not doing anything. And if you speak out against them, you get retribution from the community. Why would he talk about Commissioner so-and-so like that? Well, he probably needed to be talked about, but we have an version of that
right now.
Right. You know what, Richard? One of the things that you said is so true, is that it's local. If we hold these people, these local politicians accountable, guess what? those that's higher up, because the ones that are higher up are coming down and saying, hey, we need your people to vote for me. Right. So you can't take these people if you don't have them. And until we get the message and until we carry the message and act on the message, we want you to be accountable. And if you're not accountable, get the heck out of here. Right. Next, who's next in line? Because guess what? It sends a message going up as opposed to a message coming down, which is what we've been experiencing.
As Governor DeSantis really been hurt on this failed campaign for president.
Not in Florida. We already knew he was a thin-skinned, single-issue, single-focused candidate. The country is just getting to see what we knew. But guess what? The same allegiances that Trump has with his base, DeSantis has with his base. As long as he's running a white supremacist agenda that suffices their urge and leanings, then he is good with them. He's passing the kind of laws, permitless carry, and taking Black history out of the schools. He's doing the things that the Confederacy and those who sympathize with the Confederacy will want to happen. And so we are in a neo-Confederate state, and we are in a neo Jim Crow here in Florida, whether we realize it or not. I mean, he is taking state attorneys and elected officials who don't agree. In Orlando, which is Orange County, he removed the state attorney because she was prosecuting police officers. And so the police union in the state went to the governor and said, she's not playing ball, governor. And so he removed her from the state. So we are in a every one of the indicators that came about after Reconstruction that led to Jim Crow are present in Florida, whether we like it or not.
Now, as a Democrat, you got a question?
Well, I guess my question is, how does if you say it's a white supremacist agenda, how does he get elected in a state like Florida? Florida's a very diverse state, so can you kind of explain to our viewers, our listeners, how that happens?
I told you from the outset how it happens. I was writing an article about the Great Migration. A lot of you people in Detroit, because I spent some summers there, are from Alabama and Mississippi and Arkansas. And many times when people would move to the new community of Detroit, they had somebody there that made sure they got a job, made sure they had a place to stay, and made sure they knew where to go so that they didn't get themselves in any trouble. And one of the things that they also made sure they did was vote. Well, we don't have that anymore. And so the Black Floridians make up about 30% of the state, and we're voting at about 10%. And so we're not voting to our weight class, and as a result, we are getting people elected to office who have very, very.
If they would have voted, he wouldn't have got elected the first term because it was a photo finish.
Well, and you can thank that to the Democratic Party, who does not want to be who they are. And what I mean by that is the Democratic Party of the state of Florida wants to run center-right candidates. They did it with Val Demings. They ran her as a police chief 2 years after George Floyd had to be the dumbest campaign in political history. And then they moved Andrew Gillum and made him go more moderate, center-right. And what that does is, Black people have three choices in every state in America. They can vote Republican, they can vote Democrat or Independent or some other party, or they can stay home. The stay home choice has been the most frequent choice throughout this country, and as long as the party doesn't understand that they have those three choices, and they only give them manna instead of the flesh pots and all the other good stuff, cucumbers that we had back in slavery, if they don't give them any of that, well, I can tell you that they'll continue to stay home.
Okay, and as we close, how your campaign coming for county commission?
Well, I'm out here in Los Angeles as we speak, and I went to a fundraiser and birthday party that a very close benefactor, Bernard Kinsey, who is the curator of the Kinsey collection, and we had a fabulous turnout last night. We had Delroy Lindo, we had Glenn Turman, and a bunch of folks who I grew up watching. Old Glenn Turman from Cooley High, and the young lady who is the mother on the Peacock TV show Bel Air is from West Palm Beach, and she was there. She is the niece of the man that threw the fundraiser. So we are doing fabulously well, and we just gonna continue with the movement and try to keep this thing going. But you still owe me a visit.
Okay, well, I sure do. I'm gonna get back with you. We're gonna have you on again, and good luck, Attorney Richard Ryles from West Palm Beach, one of my favorite places. I call it that and Riviera Beach. They the little brother and sister of Detroit. We got a lot of Detroiters down there.
You know what, Richard? Before you go, why don't you tell our viewers, in case somebody wants to make a donation to your campaign, leave us your information. Get your information on the air.
All right. All they have to do is go to rylesfor7.com. That's RYLES 4FOR7, the number 7.com. Rylesfor7.com. And as soon as the link comes up, they can donate. It's quite simple. Thank
Attorney
you.
Richard Ryles. We'll be talking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
And before we wrap it up, JeDonna Dingus gave me the number to call, two numbers. Senator Stephanie Chang, 855-347-8003, and tell Senator Chang to get off her ass and help get this bill on the floor. And Senator Sue Shrink, not Skink, but Shrink, 855-347-8014. Tell her to get her ass and put that bill. Move it forward. What are you fucking scared of? People work hard, and we elect those folks, and they don't do shit but put a barrier up.
Or they do what they want to do.
Well, that's what that means. They ain't doing shit.
They do what they want to do.
They're not doing shit. But anyway, as we come to a close, Jim, you are our guest today. Your final thoughts.
I'm going to go back to Michigan State just for a second and say there's so many. I'm not going to talk about Mel Tucker. I'm going to talk about the governor said. The governor said we can do better, and we can do better. And this is not a reflection on the Spartan Nation. There's a champions of business and industry and government that graduated. This is not a reflection on them. So keep your heads up. This is a leadership issue. It's not your issue.
Okay. Vanessa?
Well, if you're watching Detroit in black and white today, we'd like for you to like, subscribe, and share. We're here at McShane's on the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. Come down any Saturday and join in with us from 10 to 11 o'clock. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and you can catch all the episodes of Detroit in black and white on DetroitInBlackAndWhite.com. I'm going to tell everybody to have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. The auto show is starting. Go down and look at the cars. If you want to break, if you want to break, if you want to cross the line,
you can't buy them. You can't buy them.
Have a wonderful weekend in the city of Detroit, and looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks, Teresa.
Okay. I just want to thank our guests, JeDonna Dingus and Attorney Richard Ryles, and Bob Roberts from McShane's. Just want to thank, and Allan Lengel will be back. He's, Lengel, he kind of weird. He's been weird for 50 years. I can say that. But he'll be back next week. This is Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Vanessa. And thank you, Teresa.
Wow.